Welcome to your key discovery point. I am Burney from Nextpoint, joined by Doug Austin of eDiscovery today. Doug, let's talk about a delicious case opinion from the last couple of weeks. Uh, we are talking about collection of third-party cookies on websites. Now, that sounds maybe sound a little bit silly, except I'm gonna guess that so many people listening to this probably already understand what we're talking about with cookies, because I think it was not too long ago there was some kind of ruling with the internet law that websites are required to ask if you want to accept or deny cookies, right? Those pop-ups come up on just about every site that you go to today. So that's really kind of what we are talking about. But the question here is, are cookies something that we need to produce in litigation? This is one of several opinions that have been baking in the in-ray metapixel healthcare litigation cookie oven for a while. This might be one of the best legal approaches to this is how the cookie crumbles on some of this.
You're really milking
I'm
the puns on this one, Brad.
good, good.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Well, normally I like to go kind of mano a mano on the pun bit, but I'll jump right into the actual considerations of the case. And one of the things that's interesting about this case, yeah, I mean, it's not like third-party cookies are a normal thing that you have to produce in discovery. But in this
Right.
case, it so happens that the case really involves a tracking tool, or essentially cookie known as Metapixel, which basically the plaintiffs are claiming Meta, gathered health information of millions of Facebook users.
Right. Right.
So Meta, of course, one of their RFPs was like, well, hey, we want the cookies on their devices and their browsers, we want to know what they've got to make sure that, it's not just us, but,
Mm-hmm.
are there others collecting this information? Because that changes the dynamic a bit. And so you've got some arguments there. Meta provided some arguments as to why they felt it was justified. Basically, plaintiffs provided some arguments against. And one of the things the judge did, Judge DeMarchi, on the case is she said, yes, the discovery is clearly relevant to plaintiffs' claims and Meta's defenses, which of course is one of the first considerations there. And then she also indicated that the discovery is relevant to arguments that Meta expects to make an opposing class certification and things of that nature. And ultimately, what she said is, well, yes, they should should have to produce some cookies, but they should only have to produce cookies that are really,
Right.
that are really or not irrelevant. Basically, cookies that might be capturing health information. So she essentially made reduced the scope and made it more proportional and relevant. And then she also talked about the parties' lack of cooperation, and that
Yeah.
that she
Right.
felt like they could have really they could have come to this agreement without her. So certainly that's one of the things that we've already covered this case, or I have in a couple of other instances, including this was one of the cases that has, one of the modern attachments rulings for hyperlinked files. So obviously a lot going on in this case. And this is one of the things I think really illustrates with this case just how varied ESI sources can be. Sources you might not think of that maybe wouldn't be relevant, or things you would consider most of the time. But in certain selected instances, I think they would be relevant, and definitely ESI that would need to be produced. So that's one of the things I think you want to be thinking about as a party in litigation is, it's not going to be just standard stuff. It might be some unusual types of ESI that might tie into the subject matter of the case.
Most of the time when we talk about cookies, at least in the internet, world, they are very simple text files mostly. And I know if you've ever gone to a site and it remembers like your username, right? So when you log in, that username is already filled in. How does it remember that you've already visited that site? Or if you go to like a shopping portal, and your cart, it still has the items that you had put in earlier. It's those kind of things that these cookies are typically remembering, right? That's how sort of the cookies work on some of this, amongst other things. And I got to tell you, reading through this, Doug, the thing that kept coming to my mind is how in the world are they going to separate out like what are meta pixel cookies versus non-meta pixel cookies? I mean, sometimes these websites can have hundreds, dozens and dozens and hundreds of cookies associated with this. And just reading through this, I just kind of started thinking, wow, what a burden. I mean, is this proportional in how it goes? And I think I read one of the lines that the judge talked about here, that the court will not require plaintiffs to undertake a burdensome analysis of the very large number of third-party cookies on plaintiffs' devices and browsers. But man, I mean, I just feel like that's going to be a lot of work. And to the point you just made at the very end there, I don't know that most parties even think about it. Is this something that we collect in there? And we've seen this on some other cases before. I mean, I know it's not brand new in that sense, but it's just something to, like you said, I liked what you said at the last part there, just to think about it. Keep in the back of your mind on the back burner is like, if this is something that you are concerned about, and it was involved with some of the claims that the plaintiffs were making here, that the judge was like, well, okay, if you want Meta to be able to give you some of this information that you are requesting, then you've got to also provide some of the evidence from the plaintiffs. This is basically some kind of a general case here where it's a lot of plaintiffs that are involved in this, right? Anyway,
Right.
just it seems like it's a lot of work. I mean, I barely understand some of this, and I just feel like the plaintiffs have a long road ahead of them.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't. Yeah, I'm honestly, I think it might be more burdensome to figure out which cookies might have health information than just to produce them all. Because honestly,
Right, right.
I don't even know how they're going to begin to do that. I don't know if there's some sort of resources to kind of be able to say, well, these are providers that are known to have cookies that collect health information or what have you. But yeah, I think it's definitely it's going to be a custom workflow. It's going to require a lot of technical
Yeah,
expertise to really kind of figure out what's being gathered. And like you say, it's tons of cookies that we all have on our devices and in our browsers, are tied into our browsers because of all the sites we visited over over time.
exactly.
So it's going to be a real challenge to respond to basically respond to this RFP. But the court, the Judge DeMarchi says they should, or that they must. So they're going to
Right.
have to find a way, and sometimes that's what happens. That's the way the cookie crumbles.
Well, I'm glad that you'll continue to be watching this case, because I feel like we have not heard the end of this. I know you've already been reporting on In-Ray Metapixel for a while. There's been several issues that have bubbled up there, and as always, you link to Minerva 26, formerly eDiscovery Assistant. Kelly Trigger's great site here where you can read a little bit more about the case, although I always like the fact that you pull out some of the important pieces to consider from each of these cases, Doug. And then just it's a sort of a primer on ESI protocols, because I feel like in just thinking about where, can this come in, or kind of a takeaway here, again, just something to think about, another thing to consider when you're talking to the other side about what pieces of information that need to be produced. We have a great little primer on ESI protocols on nextpoint.com. I'll make sure that link is going to be in the show notes. And your key discovery point here, don't get caught with your hand in the cookie jar. I don't know how many other puns that we can come up with here, Doug, but
Yeah,
as
just
always, yeah, yeah.
be prepared. Be prepared to consider other ESI sources, or your eDiscovery plans are half baked. I don't know.
Well said, my friend. Thanks as always, Doug, for being with us, and we'll talk with you next time.